And I've been asked time and time again through the years, is there Judaism in Star Trek? Well, let me put it this way: if education, value of education, is a Jewish thing, then yes, there is Judaism in Star Trek. Star Trek values education very highly. You stop and think about it. All the people on the Enterprise are highly educated people. If social justice is a Jewish thing, there is social justice there is Judaism in Star Trek, because Star Trek values social justice. How about tolerance for the individual and the dignity of every individual? And how about charity and compassion for those in need? These are traits that are expressed in Star Trek constantly, and they are Jewish traits. So the answer is yes. There's a lot of Judaism. There is a lot of Jewishness in Star Trek, and I felt very much at home because of that. I thought, I've died and gone to heaven. How much better an acting job could I find for myself than this? And on top of all of that, to be cast in this alienated character. I grew up in Boston, a very Catholic city. I grew up thinking that I was the other. When I was a kid, I remember my parents and friends talking about the fact, I must have been 6 or 7 or 8 years old when I first heard it. I couldn't understand what they were talking about. They said, a Catholic will never be elected president of the United States. I thought, except for us few Jews, the whole world was Catholic. You know, why wouldn't they elect him? You know. So I knew what it felt like to be the other, the outsider. And that was this Spock character, a diaspora character if there ever was one. Spock is half human, half Vulcan. For those of you who don't know, there must be somebody in the room that doesn't know anything about Spock. So he's half human, half Vulcan. His mother was a human. His father was a Vulcan. So even as a kid on Vulcan, he was something of an outcast because he was a half-breed. Doesn't really belong here. His mother's human. Crying out loud, you know, this is not a Vulcan kid. And on Earth, he's this stranger with pointed ears. Yeah. So he chooses this other environment, this Federation, this Starfleet, to become a member of and to live there, because there they accept diversity. They accept the diversity of the individual, and he can find a home for himself. So Spock is a diaspora character in that sense, and I felt totally at home playing it. You know, what a wonderful opportunity to live inside the skin of this character that I so completely enjoyed playing because I knew who he was. And then came the day, late in the first season, when we're going to Vulcan for the first time in one of our stories, a wonderful script written by a great science fiction writer named Theodore Sturgeon. The script was called Amok Time. First time the words "live long and prosper" were spoken. It was written in that script. We're going to Vulcan because Spock has to go home to fulfill a betrothal that was arranged when he was a child. We discovered he has to get married. There's a lady there who's waiting, and Kirk and Spock and McCoy, the trio, arrive on Vulcan out of the planes and wait for this procession to come out from the city. We're arriving in the planes because we couldn't afford to show you the city. So out comes the procession, and the procession is being led by a lady being carried in a sedan chair, a very regal lady, played by a wonderful Jewish Viennese actress named Siegel Lovsky, played a character called T'Pau. We discover that she is the matriarch of the Vulcan planet. Wonderful performance. And we're about to greet, she and I are to greet. I've been away from Vulcan a long time, and I've forgotten what the exact words were. She said something like, "Welcome home, Spock," and I said, "Yeah, it's great to be here." I don't remember exactly what I was supposed to say. But I'm looking for, each day that we shoot this episode, I'm looking for what can I introduce into this show that's a special Vulcan thing. What are we going to discover about the Vulcans? We're seeing them for the first time. My people. What are we going to discover about them? I'm looking for opportunities to inject ritual ideas or thoughts or whatever. And we have this greeting scene. And I said to the director, I think we should do something special when Vulcans greet each other. He said, "Well, what do you mean? What do you have in mind?" I said, "Well, military people salute each other. Humans shake hands when they meet. Asian people bow to each other. What do Vulcans do?" He said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I reached down into my bag of secret weapons, and I reached into my Judaism. I remember when I was a kid, probably 7 or 8 years old, I'd go to shul with my parents on the high holidays. I'd sit with my father and my grandfather and my brother downstairs in the Orthodox shul. The women were upstairs. And at a point in the service, when the Kohanim got up to bless the congregation, there would be maybe 6 or 7 of these gentlemen get up on the bima to bless the congregation, and this incredibly powerful theatrical event takes place. They get up there, and they say the prayer that's in the Old and the New Testament, may the Lord bless you and keep you, may the Lord cause his countenance to shine upon you, may the Lord turn his graciousness unto you and grant you peace. But they don't just say it. In those days, in the Orthodox shul where I grew up, there was a whole magical event took place. I'll try to give you some sense of what it was like. So these gentlemen, the Kohanim, are up there on the bima, and they're under their talits like this, and they got their hands out like this, and they're swaying and they're chanting and they're doing, and then the leader would yell out, Yevorechecho, and the rest of them would yell, Yevorechecho. Wow, it was quite an event. And my dad said to me, don't look. The whole congregation is looking away, got their heads bowed, and they're looking away. And the reason, I've asked many rabbis over the years, our personal rabbi said to me, look, this is a very important spiritual moment. It's a magic moment. Because the belief is that when they do this incantation, this prayer, the Shekhinah, the essence of God, enters the sanctuary. It's a very important spiritual moment. And as we all know, the image, the essence of God is so powerful a sight that a human could not survive if you saw it. So you don't look. To save your life, you don't look. But I peeked. And I survived. And I saw these guys doing this with their hands. I had no idea why they were doing that. And I think I've heard a lot of explanations for that. I think the simplest is that this is the shape of the letter Shin, which is the first letter in the word Shaddai. So they're using the symbol of the Almighty's name when they bless the congregation. There are a lot of other explanations, Kabbalistic, numerological, and so forth. But in any case, when I saw them do that, I was entranced by it. I thought, I don't know why, I just felt compelled to learn how to do that. And I did. I worked at it. Diligent practice and self-denial. I mean, I worked at it until I could do it any place, anytime, both hands. I even started practicing this and this and that. I never dreamed it would come in handy someday. But I said to the director, suppose Vulcans do this. And he said, okay. Sort of, why not? So we went to Sililovsky and told her what the plan was. And the director said to her, Leonard will approach you and he'll do that and you'll return it and you'll do the dialogue. Well, the problem was that Celia hadn't given the diligent practice and self-denial to the project that I had. She couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. Not everybody can do it immediately. And I thought, oh, no, we've got to get this into the show because I really feel this is so right. Something about it is so right, so precious to me. It's got to happen. So we worked it out. We showed her how to hold her hand with her other hand in place and ready. And she held it in her lap out of sight of the camera. When I raised my hand, she raised hers. And that's how we got it into the show.